what I'm doing here is I'm fixing a boo-boo. Yeah. This is what happens when you work in all kinds of different case scenarios. Like you're so desperate to get your operation going, you know. Here you are, wanting to do something you've been desiring to do for over 3 years, but planning on it. I'm going to turn this heater on. Does it work? Doesn't work, eh? I don't know why. It's not plugged in. It's well above freezing here in Banff, Alberta, and I'm fixing a boo-boo on my paint job. What had happened here is I was working on this on the part-time all summer long. I started working on it in May, and it's pretty thick. Holy cow, how many layers? How many layers? It's pretty thick. But what had happened is I never got to seal it. Never got to seal the work. And during the winter, it got really dried out, right? It got really dried out during the really serious cold snap. And what had happened? That cold snap basically cracked the rocker guard. It got so cold, it cracked it. And I probably wouldn't have had that experience if I had not been so hasty to get going on this, because it's just 3 years. You're waiting 3 years to do something just for the opportunity, right? But you notice that the skin of these cars are not that great, and I've been wanting to make a vehicle that is somewhat hail proof, and as I said here, and then I wanted to basically, it's this project all has to coincide with a graphic novel and short film I'm working on, and it's well under its way. But what had happened here is the rocker guard was going on really nice, like it is right now. Because what I did, I was working on different sections. In some areas I had sand, in some areas I hadn't sand. In this area, I didn't sand it. So there was no tooth, right? There was really no tooth to hold that rocker guard to the body of the car. There's absolutely no tooth for this. And what had happened is when we got that super cold snap with the minus 50 wind chills, it completely dried out the rocker guard. It really dried out the rocker guard, and it cracked it, just like it does with the limestone of the mountains, right? Just how the mountains are so rocky. The water comes in, and what happened is it cracked, right? It dried out and cracked, and then it snowed, and then it melts, and it does that whole entire erosion process. And seeing that I never had sealed the car, and this is pretty serious, it will take me, like, this is a few millimeters. This is a few millimeters in thickness here, eh? Holy cow. I mean, it wasn't a light coating. You could see the scaling. Absolutely. And I saw what happened, because what was going on is I was driving into Calgary yesterday, and I hit some bumps on the highway because it's quite bumpy on the Trans-Canada. You'll hit this constant bump, and the constant bump kept on working away at this cracked rocker guard, and eventually it just flew off. Isn't it funny? But today it's like, holy cow, was it really minus 30 yesterday? Was it really minus 30 last week? This is what today is like. And this is really nice too. This heater is really working well. It's giving that texture that I wanted from before. I want a nice texture to it, so I can do my dragon scale, and it's really nice. And holy cow, when you're working on this, it absolutely destroys brushes. It absolutely destroys. But you see it getting wet here. It's drying nicely, but I keep on going over it. Hopefully this heater will accelerate it. But I'm working from the inside, and believe me, I have all kinds of ideas of how I'm going to finish this modification on my Subaru here. It's never been done before, what I'm about to do. I haven't seen one like it, and I got a really cool plan. I wasn't really planning on this today, but I don't like it. I don't like showing the bare skin of the car. And the whole car is going to be done. I mean, it's an expensive car. I mean, I've bought this car, and the interest alone is 40% of the purchase of the car, because I've never bought a car before with financing. And I virtually had zero credit because I wasn't doing any credit card now. But since I bought the car and driving around Banff, there has been numerous repairs, right? And this paint job was going to be the most expensive thing I was going to do to the car last year, but then came along, you know, some link stabilizers, and I mean the car is really, because you can see how it is right now. Today it's like 3 degrees. The weather network says it's only like 1 degree, but it's absolutely melting its ass off right now. I guarantee it. And here I am repairing my skin here. It's gonna be pretty. You know, I like this texture, right? I'm building it up slowly, and it's gotta match right back up again, right? So I will put maybe a liter on this area, and with this heater going on it, it'll be like, it's drying serious fast, and it's probably about where I'm painting. It's probably about 10 degrees right there. It's warm, eh? It is absolutely warm. You can see the heat coming off the car. Who would ever thought? See the little bubbles there? It's like moisture, condensation and stuff. But I just keep on going over it. That's what I do. With the heater, it'll dry, as I said, it'll dry fast. And the other thing I like the rocker guard is that that's that next element of, it's an added element of insulation for the car, which will keep it cooler. The other reason why I was painting the car is because I wanted to do this dragon skin. You know, my last car was a Dragonmobile, and it was that car was not even 30% finished by when I actually broke down and sold it, because I just could not get the time to go get the car fixed, and the car needed a resonator pipe. And I've been rebuilding the car for years, right? The car had so many near new parts. The guy that bought it got itself a gold mine. And then I basically bought this vehicle, and within the second day I was into repairs already. Yeah, I got a deal on it because I got a deal on the car. It was only $17,000. You can't even find this model. You can't even find it. You know, overall the car has like it's right close. It's coming up on 200,000 kilometers. I bought it at 117,000 kilometers, and most of those kilometers are just driving right around Banff. Holy cow, this is a hard town, right? Driving right around Banff. And the rocker guard is actually necessary because this car, I mean, it's got dents in it. There is actually a dent here. And I mean, there's dents everywhere. It doesn't take, I was leaning something on it and it dented the door here. But I said, you know what? I'm going to do a significant rocker guard on this and I'm going to paint on it. And then I'm going to seal it up and do a lot of clear coatings, right? Do 3 or 4 coatings of clear coating, roll it right on, right? And then sand that clear coating. Yeah, I've seen it done. And, you know, just to make this, just to have that much more surface to the vehicle, and it will be that much more insulated, right? I mean, the car is, this rocker guard, and I mean, there's about, some areas are much thinner. There's 4 liters. There's more than 4 liters of rocker guard on the roof. And when I'm done, there'll probably be over, like what I'm putting on right here will be all of this. I will put this whole tire container. I have to move fast because it's drying, right? I mean, even at this temperature, it wants to dry. And see, that's why it's getting that texture about it. Got some on my fingers. But I'm a DIY kind of guy, right? And if I could do something by myself on this car, I will do it, right? But the thing is, I've always been in customizing automobiles or clothing or what have you with my paint and drawing. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I went to the Fashion and Art Institute of Philadelphia. I wasn't really planning on getting into astrology as well, but every man needs his religion, right? Cope with his dragons. Because this is Keto, right? Rahu's in the front. This is Keto, the tail of the dragon, right here. And I definitely, that north node, I mean that south node is definitely moving through my 5th house, and I lost some of its tail. Yeah, it's really fun to look at astrology when you're actually working on stuff like this, because when I place the rocker guard itself, if you want to metaphysically with astrology analyze what I'm doing right now, because this is Tuesday, right? Tuesday is a Mars day, right? And you're working it. I can hear the people working in the background and stuff, and there's people around town clearing the snow and all what have you, because it's melting. But you can hear that rain, or not the rain, but you can hear the water, you know, going down that drain pipe from that snow melting off the roof right now. Yeah, this is gonna be nice. As I'm layering it up, right? It doesn't take long, and that heater is hot, right? So that's gonna be, it's definitely, I can feel the heat. But it's definitely warmer than 3 degrees here, even though the weather app says 1. I don't know where they're measuring that, in the shade next to a significant snowbank. As you can see, she's gonna look pretty again. I was, you know, you see what had happened, and you know, I was there actually filling up at the Shell station. Yesterday, and I saw what had happened, and it was you know, it's lessons learned, right? You still have the car, and it's just cosmetics, and it's what I'm designed to do. I'm designed to do this cosmetic work. I'm just moving up here, you know, I'm layering it on nice and thick. All right, we got heat, so move it a little closer here. Yeah, and this is all sponsored by Canadian Tire. Yeah, this is a Canadian Tire rocker guard bought at Canadian Tire. I mean, if I'm gonna owe any money to anyone, it's gonna be to Canadian Tire. Holy cow, that's not right. Pay attention to what I'm doing here. But yeah, this car is a total fix-up. It looks pretty from far, but you ever hear that saying? Good from far, but far from good. You ever hear that saying? This purchase has been like this. It's been expensive. This has been the most expensive thing I've bought since I bought my bookstore, which tanked. You know, the bookstore had tanked from a forest fire right at the end of its lease. I mean, right at, well, yeah, the fire happened. The fire that destroyed my bookstore, the location I had managed for 10 years. I had managed it was basically 9 years I had managed that location. We were at the end of the lease when we basically ended the lease. It was at the end. There was only a few months left. And the forest fires and the Iraqi War of 2003, all that stuff just sank it. I mean, it took until like 2004 where we just couldn't go forward, right? And I never saw it coming. It was looking good, but the pharmacy, which is no longer there, really wanted that space. And you know, when you have same kind of content at your bookstore and the pharmacy has a grandfather clause on you because they were there first, you can't really do much about the competition, especially when you're selling a truckload of postcards. I mean, I would sell how many postcards per day out of that bookstore? It was like one of the cards and postcards were like the number one. People don't want to spend a lot of money, right? And back then there was no digital cameras. It's kind of crazy, eh? But I connect you to the tree never forgets the root, and the root is not being stuck in a bookstore, but actually painting every day and illustrating. We're actually laying this up. It's definitely going to be scaling. I'm going to actually move it this way because with the scaling it's doing, see, it's drying quickly because of that heater, eh? Yeah. And I might sand it down a little bit. Like it all has a smoother texture to it below, and that's when you get to figure out. This is just driving really fast, and I'm not really too terrified about the texture right now. I'm all more interested in just getting that on there, putting a leader on there, and within one of these video casts, right? So it doesn't look weird like it did before. And it was like this before when the car got ran over by a master, over the summer, my car got ran over by a monster truck, right? It was, Venus had just gone retrograde. Like, it was the day after Venus went retrograde, and a big monster truck ran over front. It didn't really make it through. It was trying to, but what happened, it hit the supporting pole or supporting rod inside the bumper and punctured its tire, and that pretty much finished the accident. Well, holy cow, was I lucky on that one, because I was dead stop. It was him doing the Martian activity in a Venus retrograde at like 28 degrees Leo. It was like the Venus retrograde had happened right over my progressed Venus in Leo. And my progressed Venus in Leo was still in retrograde. I think this is what, like, I've just experienced almost a lifelong Venus retrograde, and holy cow, have I learned a lot about Venus I've learned a lot about a progressed Venus retrograde through a chart, through a birth chart. And one of the things that, right at the tail end of this Venus retrograde, tail end of this progressed Venus retrograde in Leo, and here I am in Leo, what had happened at the tail end of it, I had started painting this second Dragonmobile. And much more acceptance on this one than the last one. The other ones didn't like it because it had teeth and everything. Basically how it works, somebody will like it and then somebody won't like it. And that's the way it is with any artist, right? or any astrologer for that matter. But the way I'm looking at doing my developing my weekly astrology podcast, what I'm looking at doing with that is that, as I said to my mentor over a year ago, before he stopped replying to my emails. I mean, he was in his 90s, so he had to pass on, right? And basically, what I said to him, that I want to do this whole entire battle of the planets things, right? Because Russia, you're gonna love this one. Russia has planetary rulers, and I'm pretty sure Russia, one of the major planetary rulers for Russia, I'm pretty sure it's not the moon, right? As I said before in other podcasts, as I said before, Saturn wants to hold the water, right? Saturn wants to control the water. Saturn wants to funnel the water, right? And you could look at China. You see how China has a Saturn rulership, right? It's one of its primary rulers is the planet Saturn. So the U.S., if you look at YouTube channels such as the China Observer, their factories, their manufacturing factories, the motion of the manufacturing is Jupiter, right? The motion is Jupiter. The consumption of energy is like the moon, okay? Because what we do in the kitchen, we consume food, right? We bring Venus, when we look at the kitchen, we bring Venus into the kitchen, whether it's like a modified Venus, which is basically the cow that has already eaten the grass, or the grass, right? Venus. And then we heat up that cow, or we heat up that vegetation through Mars, and the sun. We do that together, right? Because the sun's the next house, right? The sun is that what? It's that joy that we gain from the food in the fifth house. That's what the sun is. And here we're going to be looking at this full moon Leo, right? Because here I am, it's full moon area. It's that inconjunct energy before the full moon. That's what's happening right now. We're forming that inconjunct energy before the full moon. My stress is with my social presence, with a cracked rocker guard shell from a deep freeze, because I didn't refinish. I didn't make that finish. So you can see here, we can look at when I put the paintbrush, when the rocker guard is a liquid, right? The rocker guard is a liquid that I roll on, right? When I roll the rocker guard onto the car, the roll is Uranus, okay? Because I'm like almost instantly changing the appearance of the car, as you can see through the video, okay? But as I'm filling in the space where the rocker guard, because you can see right through here, you can see there's like a couple millimeters. And this rocker guard will actually dehydrate, right? It will compress. It was like this before. And I like this. I like this way. It will actually compress. It's amazing how it works. And you got to roll it this way so the wind is working with the scales, right? And the scales that I have are all based upon how the rocket guard dries, right? And I look for the natural patterns, and that makes the dragon what it is, okay? But, see, getting back to the rolling part, getting back to Uranus, because I'm changing. And this could be a trine. When you look at the trine, it's actually happening. Uranus is actually trine. Transit Uranus actually trine my natal Pluto and my natal Uranus and my 5th house of the Sun with a Virgo overlap, right? So you got the Aquarian energy of Uranus sitting at 21 degrees in my chart, right? And then you have Pluto, right? Pluto's at 18 degrees in my chart in Virgo, right? And there is that Virgo, like, I have 4 degrees Virgo on my 5th house cusp, right? And then I have Venus there, and I have Juno. I have Venus. My Venus is 11 degrees. I think my Juno is like 12 or 13 degrees. And then we have Pluto. And then we have Uranus. All my 5th house, which is ruled by the Sun, okay? It's where all my filmmaking stuff comes from. Because the Sun, that 5th house rules the bedroom. The 5th house rules romance. And the romance, I mean, my studio is in my bedroom, right? It's that 5th house thing with Virgo, right? But the thing is that I have a moon in Pisces, which is at 26 degrees 45 minutes, and it's opposed at Uranus. It's lightly opposed, but there's a light opposition to Uranus in my 5th house, right? And that's my 11th house community. But what I have been going since I came home from Canada, like, my Venus was moving forward. My Venus was moving forward when I was in university in the United States, right? This is why it's very important to, this is where it takes time to actually really see the astrology working in your life, right? Because what had happened is my mother got a life-altering brain tumor. I was in university working on my second part. I was actually putting together the organizational strength to continue my university work, right? To go for my BA. But I needed a financial way. I needed a financial way to do this, and I needed to keep on carrying on my creative tasks, right? But I have this athletic thing, and I said, you know what I'll do? I'm still pretty young, and what I'll do is I will go and apply for the Navy. I'll be like my mom, and I'll go to the Navy. I'll take a 2-year recruit into the Navy for 2 years. So while I was taking all the tests and the physicals and everything like this, I took a whole selection of tests, and they said, Mr. Stewart, the Navy would absolutely love you. You, according to your SAT, or according to your, basically what is their personal SAT scores, you could basically have any position in the Navy, with your test scores. You could do whatever you want to do in the Navy with your test scores. We would absolutely love you, but there's a problem. There's a problem. You're Canadian, and this social insurance card, this social insurance number that you have is about to expire. And sure enough, it expired, and I was deported. Right? There was no way. My mother was incapacitated. There was no way for her to sponsor me into the States, and this is how I came back to Canada, right? And shortly after arriving here in Banff, my Venus had gone retrograde. Yeah, my Venus had gone retrograde, and this was where when this Venus retrograde occurred. Is when the artistic, the creative battle started happening against my Venus, right? What my Venus wanted, what my Venus was working on for so many years before it went retrograde. And now, at the end of the retrograde, everything is picking back up again. I can see it, right? Venus is coming out of her retrograde, and it's in Leo. She's in Leo in my progressed chart. And now it's going to be very interesting to watch how that Venus will progress through my life over the years to come when it conjuncts my natal Venus again in the 5th house, in my natal 5th house. I mean, this is the beauty of looking at astrology while you put on rocker guard. Holy cow, man. I'm really dishing it on. Might as well do it all right here. Just move it right out. There's lots here. Yeah. It's going to be very texture-like. You know, this is it. I mean, this, what I'm showing you right now is hardly nothing, because this will dehydrate, right? This will dehydrate, and it will become very compressed, and I have to fill all this in, right? I will probably have to sand over and then redo it again. But this is better than was looking. I don't like the inconsistency, right? Yep. So I will have to do like before and have several coats. The other problem about using rocker guard is once it's done, your roller is done, right? There's no preserving, there's no taking that stuff off the roller. And this is where I get my dragon scales, right? And believe me, as I said, there's a lot of texture. There's a lot of 3D to this, right? This is really heavy here, but that's okay, I don't care. And this is the problem here. This was actually, I don't care about how heavy this is right here, because there's actually stuff up here that has to be done. I'm gonna actually get all this on here and move this down. There is tons. I don't care. I'm a fast painter, right? I mean, I'm losing some work here, but that's okay. It's a warm winter. I will be able to work on the car. I'll wear gloves. There's not a happier guy in the world than Johnny Eyespy when he's got creativity on the go. All right? I'm the happiest guy in the world. Share the world with you. That's what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to share the world with you. See, I'm just moving over here. You can't get too close to here because you won't be able to open up the fuel container, and that's what actually happened. I actually like that it's imperfect. And I was looking when I did this. I said there's got to be imperfections, right? Dragon gets into a fight, dragon gets hurt, scale gets broken, a horn gets broken. So you got to have that imperfection in the actual. I might even put some more on there. I might let that dry. Okay, so there you go, guys. Little astro body retouch time. Yeah, Venus retrograde. That's come out of my Venus has come out of retrograde, and it's moving forward again in Leo, and it's about ready to. You gotta wonder what my life is going to be like when my progressed Venus crosses over my 5th house cusp again. I can't wait to share that with you. Talk to you soon.